Hi, my name is Roslyn.
And my name is Erin, and we're talking about equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios are two ratios that express the same relationships between numbers.
They can be in decimal form, fraction form, and in ratio form. Also, a decimal can be equivalent to another ratio, and so. You can find the equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing both sides by the same number. After finding the equivalent ratio, you can cross multiply or simplify each fraction to make sure each side is equal.
For example, if you take the ratio 2 over 6 and you multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2, you will get 4 over 12, and that is equivalent to 2 over 6.
Given what we know about equivalent ratios so far, we can look at the fraction 6 over 8. We know that to find an equivalent ratio, we have to multiply or divide both the numerator and the denominator by a numerator. I choose to multiply by 9.
When you multiply the numerator and the denominator by 9, the numerator changes to 54, and the denominator changes to 72. So the equivalent ratio for 6 over 8 is 54 over 72. But remember, there are multiple ways and multiple answers if you do the same thing to the top and bottom of a fraction with a different number.
In example 2, the problem is a little bit more challenging. If we look at the problem in small sections, then we will be able to use our prior knowledge to figure out the problem. The question is asking us what can replace the letter A. So using our prior knowledge, we know that we need to figure out what to multiply 3 by to get 12.
We know that whatever we do to the numerator, we have to do to the denominator. You multiply 3 by 4 to get 12. So we just multiply the numerator by 4. Now we need to do the same to the denominator. When we do that, we get 8 for the new numerator. At the end, A equals 8. Now the fractions are equivalent ratios.
Now that we learned all of the skills for equivalent ratios, we are going to be looking at figuring out which ones are equivalent ratios and which ones are not using the cross multiplication process. So the problems are asking us to figure out which ones are the right ratios. To figure this out, let's start with the first question. When you cross multiply the fractions, you multiply the first numerator by the second denominator. When you do this to each side, the both sections equal 8 on both sides. So this is an equivalent fraction.
The next problem is 6 over 8 equals 22 over 31. If we use cross multiplication to solve, then we will do 6 times 31. That equals 186. Then 8 times 22 equals 176. The end answers are not equal, and therefore they are not equivalent. Lastly, the next problem is 8 over 10 equals 24 over 20. Next, we use cross multiplication again. The numerator 8 and the denominator 20, if multiplied, equals 160. If we do the same to the next set of numbers, then the answer would be 240. These end answers are not the same, and therefore they are not equal.
Today we learned a lot about equivalent ratios. The most important things to remember are that you always multiply and divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number.
That means that any equivalent ratio should always simplify to the same number. Another important step is to check your answer by using cross multiplication.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you learned a lot.